the lady that we had yesterday that was heading this up for us with the vineyard there. And first of all, we'll give Tab a big shout out for finding that, because that was actually really fun, man. It was really fun for you guys out there to think, oh man, that's just crazy. Because we did have a guy sitting at our table that didn't play. You know, he came. He says, "I'm here for moral support" and all that bullshit. But the reality of it is, man, dude, there were quite a few dudes there that were painting too, and man, it's fun. It actually is. You owe it to yourself to try to do it. You know, just to do it for sure. So, but anyway, I share that story with you because Debbie, who was the host there at the vineyard, she said, "Now don't worry about making things perfect." She said, "Because landscape is not symmetrical." And I'm like, damn, that's pretty cool. And actually, Tab came up with a really good idea there. She said, I hear you talk about guys worrying about their straight lines so much. And landscape's not symmetrical. Don't worry about it being perfect. And the reality of that is, okay, so are we talking about stripes? Are we talking about flowers? Are we talking about plants going in? Sometimes we want things to look symmetrical without being symmetrical. Think about that for a second. Wrap your mind around that. Put your hat on for a minute and wrap your mind around that are you worrying about things being perfect within your business? Or are you giving yourself a chance and an opportunity, if you had one chance, one opportunity, to just be excellent at what you do? And there's a big difference. Perfection is almost unachievable. But excellence is a mindset, and it's achievable. Being perfect is hard and probably not a sustainable, achievable goal. But excellence is. So think about the little things in your business that we try too hard sometimes. We try way too hard sometimes to be perfect at. Don't worry about the perfection. Let's strive for excellence. And because a lot of times as we're trying to achieve excellence in something, whether it's our lines, whether it's our plantings, whether it's our landscape lighting, whether it's our Christmas lights, regardless of what it is, the ultimate goal is excellence. And that is an achievable goal. So always try to listen to people a little bit when you're doing anything. And I don't know, Debbie just brought out a really good point that sometimes we try too hard to make something perfect. And then when we're not perfect with it, the problem perpetuates itself because we keep trying too hard. So anyways, remember that landscape is not symmetrical. You don't have to worry about being perfect with what you're doing. Let's just be excellent at what we're doing. And speaking of being excellent at what we're doing, I got a story I want to share with you guys that two things actually. We got a call the other day. It was, I think it was Friday or Saturday morning. I can't remember. But somebody would call in and they wanted an estimate on getting 3 large oak trees cleaned up. And she started the conversation with Kyle. Kyle and I were in here Saturday. Yeah, it was Saturday. With Kyle Saturday morning. She said, True that. And that's where we're going there, King Darren. She started the conversation quite simply with, the tree service told me to call a landscaper because they could probably do it cheaper because they won't have insurance in most cases. Now, I'm just here to tell you that was a little bit offensive. It may be right, but it may be offensive. So I'm going with it was a little bit offensive that, first of all, somebody within a similar industry would throw us under the bus like that. But the problem with it is, hell, they might have been on target a little bit. So here's the shout out of the day with that before I go any further is, don't paint such a broad stroke saying, call a landscaper because they're probably not insured. Because I've seen just as many useless other industries, and I'm not going to say, what they are, whether they're trimming trees or whatever they're doing, but, or whatever it is. But I know plenty of guys in our own market right here that don't have any insurance or not properly insured, and we're not getting into that today. But the whole point is, that's the perception sometimes that's out there, And her whole thing was, well, when my trees fell, they're telling me this is going to be, several $1,000s, and I'm just trying to get it done as cheap as I can. Well, you're trying to get it done cheap. I get that. None of us want to spend any more money than we have to. But why in the world do you want somebody on your property dealing with that type of service that's not insured? I mean, I just don't get it. But you know what? That's what we're living in. That's the era we're living in. It's one of those things that doesn't matter until it matters, and hopefully it matters to you enough to have the insurance that you need. We've actually got an insurance fellow I've had here on my show on Profit Time, and we're going to have him back on here again, as well as within our Profit Circle, he's going to do our webinar for us this month. So. Be sure to check that out as well. But yeah, we got to make sure that you first of all that you do have insurance, and this is kind of a side note. If you got fully insured on anything, take it off. Take it off. Your attorney will appreciate if you take it off. That's one of my pet peeves when I ride down the street and I see fully insured on a truck. Or fully insured on a sign, or fully insured. How much is fully insured? That's the real question. You might have what you think's adequate coverage, and we're not getting into that today. But I mean, I just want to plant that little seed of thought here too, for everybody that nobody's fully insured. You might have what you think is enough, but there's always going to be an accident potential out there. So maybe you're adequately insured. But fully insured is kind of like putting a target on your back, saying, sue me, sue me, sue me, sue me. So just something to think about from that end. And Brad, getting much deeper into that. So, maybe we look at some certifications rather than saying fully insured, But anyways, it's not wrong or right. It's not guilty or innocent. It's just think about what you're doing. And I had our attorney pick that up one year for us. That he's like, Wayne, I just had him looking at it, not from a legal standpoint, but just looking at it. I was talking to him about some business one day, and I said, hey, what do you think about this? And he said, looks good, man. He says, but I'm just curious why you got fully insured on it. And I'm like, well, because I want people to know we have insurance. He said, well, two things. One is if you want anything on it, just put insured on it. And that's when he explained the fully insured mindset to me. He says, how much is enough? And I said, I don't know. Ed, you're the attorney. You tell me. And he says, well, just visualize this scenario. And he said, this isn't a crazy scenario. He said, visualize one of your trucks going down the street and they run a stop sign or they run a red light and they hit a car. And that car's got 5 women in it, and all 5 of them are pregnant. Now you got 10 dead people. Now, does that $300,000 or $1 million or $2 million limit seemed to be enough. And, they're all surgeons. So now what's that gonna cost you? They're all 35 years old. They're all surgeons, got a full career ahead of them. So, hey, just be careful about putting fully insured on anything.